I'm so happy to see so many young people here. This gives me hope. Thanks.
I got, how many kids over here? How many I got now? I got 1, 2, 3, and 1 on the way. And just recently, I was just like everybody else, blind to the whole issue of GMO. I was like, what the heck is a GMO? And I heard people along the way when we were walking, and they're all talking about the same thing. They're like, what is this GMO stuff? I was like, it's a hidden agenda by a monopoly company called Monsanto. Monsanto in 1996 decided that they wanted to put genetically modified DNA from bacteria into our food supply in order to prevent bugs and prevent other weeds from grounding out our crop supply. So what's wrong with that? Well, I say what's wrong with that is the fact that when they put that DNA modification into that crop, what they did was those insects, they land on those crops. They start eating those crops, and their stomach explodes from eating those crops. Do you want your stomach to explode? I don't want my stomach to explode. Do I want my kids' stomachs to explode? No, I don't want their stomachs exploding. Now, why aren't we walking around and everybody's stomach's exploding if all GMOs are in our food supply? Well, because they've been ingenious about what they're doing. They want profits. They're looking at money. If they did that and everybody's stomach was exploding every time they ate GMO food, they wouldn't make any money. They wouldn't survive. So it's all about corporate greed, and it's all about how they've manipulated the system to make themselves profitable. And how they've done it was they've made a small amount of the DNA and they've proportioned it just enough to where it can slip through our system. When it does slip through our system, it causes our intestinal linings of our walls and the cells to become porous. And before our body can extract out all the food products that are bad and all the toxins that are in every food and everything that we eat, even the best food that we can get, most organic food ever, is going to have some chemicals that our body doesn't need, that it's bad. And our body has a natural defense of pulling those products out of our system before it gets to be toxic. So what they've done is just made it just enough to where it can blow up the stomachs of insects every time they eat the food. But for us, we just take a long time. And ever since 1996, when they first introduced the GMO into our food supply through corn, now 84% of our corn supply is GMO. 90% of our soy supply in the United States is GMO. 90%, that means everything that you eat. Think about it, corn syrup. You can talk about anything that you possibly can eat just about is going to have some kind of corn byproduct in it. And that corn byproduct is what causes the GMO pieces to work. I live right next to a farm in Elkton, Florida, not too far from here. And on that farm, they grow corn. They grow GMO corn. I live right next door to it. This corn grows at an astronomical rate. This corn grows bigger and stronger than any corn that I've grown up in Indiana, Michigan, Kentucky, all my life. I've been around cornfields, I've been around all these products, and I've never in my life seen corn grow at the rate that I've seen it grow right next to my own backyard. When I found out about GMOs and I wondered about why this corn was growing so fast, and I thought, well, maybe it's just Florida climate. Well, I come to find out that's not true. It's been growing everywhere. I went back home and I looked at the corn crops out there, and they're all growing at a fast rate. It's all about profit. It's not about nutrition. Now what else? Also, since 1974, Monsanto has patented glyphosate, which is a product that they used to put on the food supply that helps soak out the nutrients from weeds to keep the crops from getting weeded out and all the nutrients supposedly getting stolen from the crops. Well, in the whole process of doing so, they caused our food supply to also do the same thing to us. If you don't believe me, go home, Google, internet's your best friend. You will find a bounty of information that Monsanto does not want you to know. Monsanto contains the majority of the seed patents in the United States of America. You know how many other countries look at the sign over here. You know how many countries have decided to ban GMO products, but the United States has decided not to. And succeeded in banning them. And one of the countries, I believe, actually burned their crops. So you tell me, is this a crazy idea, or is this just people that want to eat what's good for them? I think it's something that people just want to eat that's going to be good for them. Because I tell you what, I've never been an activist my entire life, but when I came across the whole GMO thing, and I looked down at my kids and I seen what they were eating, and I seen the exponential increases in inflammatory diseases that cause inflammation and gut inflammation, and I started researching it. I looked at it. I'm no doctor, I'm no medical person, but I do have common sense like the rest of us should have. And looked at this and said, you know what, there's something we got to do. We need to stand up. We need to stand up to corporate America and corporate greed and do something about this. So that's why I'm here today. I'm nobody special. I'm just an average guy in my life that's looking to try to better myself with what I'm eating. I've completely changed my diet over, and everybody tells us, he says, but Will, this is so expensive. How are you going to spend so much money? I was like, you know what? You're wrong. I was like, you wait, 10, 20 years from now and see what your medical expenses are. You tell me. Yeah. What is paying for it? You worry about health care now? You wait until they start jamming more food supply. In 2011, they started injecting it into alfalfa. And now they're feeding it as a major source of food supply to the crop. All the different feeds have the highest amounts of GMO product in feed that's for animals. So in turn, you've got to research this as well, but there's also a high rate of mortality amongst livestock in the United States due to GMO products. And it's been covered up over and over again. These small farmers that are out there they're not the culprit. They've been trying to drown out the real farmers, the ones that are trying to go out there and make it difficult for them to grow their food. How can you compete with a super juggernaut like Monsanto? How can you compete with a product that grows at an astronomical rate, that has bounty, it looks like it's overgrown, looks disproportionate and wrong? I mean, something's got to tell you. Go out to these fields out here, and you go look and see what those products look like. And you go to something that's organic and take a look at those, and you tell me what looks different. What looks better to you? What, plump, juicy ear of corn, just because it's bigger doesn't mean it's better? So there's so many different things, so many different aspects about this that's very important to us to know about how genetically modified products are altering our lives. Every ailment that we can think of, just about everything that you think of, if you go through the research since 1996, has exponentially increased, such as cancer, ADHD. You go down the list of all the different things, heart disease, everything's exponentially increased since 1996. Is it a coincidence? I don't know. Do I know 100% that the Monsanto product is the culprit to all these diseases and ailments? No. But one thing I do know is that this product is genetically modified. We know less than 1% of how our human body works. So what makes you think that some scientist that wants to make a lab rat out of all of us can come along and know what's going to happen to our body? It's reverse logic. They went into the Senate just a few days ago and knocked down Sanders' amendment, 935, I believe it is, and they said no to allowing you to know whether or not to ban it. No, we're not talking about banning GMO. We're just talking about labeling GMO. They have banned. They don't want you to even know that it has GMO. So if somebody's not guilty, why would you care? Oh, because they're afraid that it's going to scare everybody. I was like, you have nothing to worry about if there's nothing wrong with the food that you're trying to supply. Okay? So if you're really worried about that, you just promoting it and letting everybody know, hey, we have nothing to hide. We know we're not doing that. In fact, let me tell you something. They're doing a little bit more than that. Let me tell you all the people that they have. If they were not worried about anything, let me tell you what Monsanto has done to our food supply and who they have in charge that's in control of it. Who's in the government right now? The leading GMO advocate of 2001, named that by the Biotech Industry Association. Their name is Thomas Bissett. They were the U.S. Secretary of Agriculture